Self-examination questions of Chapter 1 Nature and Scope of Business Economics. First, economics regarding decision making as important because A. The resources required to satisfy our unlimited wants and needs are finite or scarce. B. It is crucial to understand how we can best allocate our scarce resources to satisfy society's unlimited wants and needs. C. Resources have alternate uses. D. All of the above. Second, business economics is option A absurd and applies the tools of microeconomics. B involves practical application of economic theory in business decision making. C incorporates tools for multiple disciplines. D option B and option C above. Third, in economics, we use the term scarcity to mean A. Absolute scarcity and lack of resources in less developed countries. Option B. Relative scarcity, that is, scarcity in relation to the wants of the society. C. Scarcity during times of business for failure and natural calamities. D. Scarcity caused on account of excessive consumption by the rich. Fourth, what implications does resource scarcity has for satisfaction of wants? A. Not all wants can be satisfied. B. We will never be faced with the need to make choices. C. We must develop ways to increase our individual wants. D. The discovery of new natural resources is necessary to increase our ability to satisfy wants. Fifth, which of the following is a normative statement? A. Planned economics allocate resources by government department. B. Most transitional economies have experienced problems of falling output and rise prices over the past decade. C. There is greater degree of consumer sovereignty in market economy than planned economies. D. Reducing inequality should be a major priority for mixed economies. Sixth, in every economic system, scarcity imposes limitations on A. Households, business firms, governments, and the nation as a whole. B. Households and business firms but not the governments. C. Local and state governments but not the federal government. D. Households and governments but not business firms. E. Business firms, governments, and the nation as a whole. Seventh, macroeconomics is called as dash economics. A. Applied. B. Aggregate. C. Experimental. D. None of the above. Eighth, an example of positive economic analysis would be A. An analysis of relationship between the price of food and the quantity demanded. B. Determining how much income each person should be guaranteed. C. Determining the fair price for food. D. Deciding how to distribute the output of the economy. Ninth, a study of how increases in the corporate income tax will affect the national unemployment rate is an example of A. Macroeconomics. B. Descriptive economics. C. Microeconomics. D. Normative economics. 10th. Which of the following does not suggest a macro approach for India? A. Determining GNP of India. B. Finding the cause of failure of ABC Limited. C. Identifying the causes of inflation in India. D. Analyze the causes of failure of industry in providing large-scale employment. 11th, Ram says My corn harvest this year is poor. Krishna says, do not panic. Price increases will compensate for the fall in quantity supplied. Vinod says, climate affects crop yields. Some years are bad, others are good. Madhu says, the government ought to guarantee that our income will not fall. In this conversation, the normative statement is made by A. Ram, B. Krishna, C. Vinod, D. Madhu. 12th. Consider the following and decide which, if any, economy is without scarcity. A. The pre-independent Indian economy where most people were farmers. B. A mythical economy where everybody is a billionaire. C. Any economy where income is distributed equally among the people. D. None of the above. 13. Which of the following is not a subject matter of microeconomics? A. Price of mangoes. B. The cost of production a fire truck for the Department of Delhi, India. C. The quantity of mangoes produced for the mangoes market. D. The national economy's annual rate of growth. 14th, the branch of economic theory that deals with the problem of allocation of resources is A. Microeconomic theory, B. Macroeconomic theory, C. Econometrics, D. None of the above. 15. Which of the following is not the subject matter of business economics? A. Should a firm be in this business? B. How much should be produced and at what price should be kept? C. How will the product be placed in the market? D. How should we decrease unemployment in the economy? 16th. Which of the following is a normative economic statement? A. Unemployment rate decreases with industrialization. B. Economics is a social science that studies human behavior. C. Minimum wage should be raised to rupees 200 per day. D. India spends a huge amount of money on national defense. 17. Which of the following would be considered a topic of study in macroeconomics? A. The effect of increase in wages on the profitability of cotton industry. B. The effect of steel prices when more steel is imported. C. The effect of an increasing inflation rate on the living standards of people in India. D. The effect of an increase in the price of coffee on the quantity of tea consumed. 18th. The difference between positive and normative economics is A. Positive economic explains the performance of economy while normative economic finds out the reasons for poor performance. B. Positive economics study the facts of economy while normative economics involves evaluating whether some of these are good or bad for welfare of the people. C. Normative economics describes the fact of the economy while positive economics involve evaluating whether some of these are good or bad for the welfare of the people. D. Positive economics describe while normative economics describes. 19. Which of the following is not within the scope of business economics? A. Capital budgeting. B. Risk analysis. C. Business cycles. D. Accounting standards. 20. Which of the following statement is incorrect? A. Business economics is normative in nature. B. Business economics has a close connection with statistics. C. Business economics need not worry about macro factors or variables. D. Business economics is called as managerial economics. 21. Economic goods are considered scarce resources because they A. cannot be increased in quantity. B. Do not exist in adequate quantity to satisfy the requirements of the society. C. Are of primarily importance in satisfying social requirements. D. Are limited to man-made goods. 22. In a free market economy, the allocation of resources is determined by A. Voting done by consumers, B. A central planning authority, C. Consumer preferences, D. The level of profits of firms. 23. A capitalist economy uses dash as the principal means of allocating resources. A. Demand, B. Supply, C. Efficiency, D. Prices. 24. Which of the following is considered as disadvantages of allocating resources using the market mechanism? A. Income will tend to be unevenly distributed. B. People don't get goods of their choice. C. Men of initiative and enterprise are not rewarded. D. Profits will tend to be low. 25. Which of the following statements does not imply to a market economy? A. Firms decide whom to hire and what to produce. B. Firms aim at maximizing profits. C. Households decide which firms to work for and what to buy with their incomes. D. Government policies are the primary forces that guide the decision of firms and households. 26. In a mixed economy, A. All economic decisions are taken by central authority. B. All economic decisions are taken by private enterprises. C. Economic decisions are partly taken by state and partly by private entrepreneurs. D. None of the above. 27. The central problem is in economics is that of A. Comparing success of command versus market economics. B. Guaranteeing that production occurs in most efficient manner. C. Guaranteeing a minimum level of income for every citizen. D. Allocating scarce resources in such a manner that society's unlimited needs or wants are satisfied in the best possible manner. 28. Capital intensive technique would be get chosen in a way: A. Labor surplus economy where the relative price of capital is lower. B. Capital surplus economy where the relative price of capital is lower. C. Developed economy where technology is better. D. Developing economy where technology is poor. 29. Which of the following is not one of the four central questions that the study of economics is supposed to answer? A. Who produces what? B. When are goods to be produced? C. Who consumes what? D. How are goods produced? 30. Larger production of dash goods would lead to higher production in future. A. Consumer goods. B. Capital goods. C. Agriculture goods. D. Public goods. 31. The economic system in which all the means of production are owned and controlled by private individuals for profit. A. Socialism. B. Capitalism. C. Mixed economy. D. Communism. 32. Macroeconomics is the study of dash. A. All aspects of scarcity. B. The national economy and the global economy as a whole. C. Big businesses. D. The decisions of individual businesses and people. 33. Freedom of choice is the advantage of A. Communism. B. Capitalism. C. Socialism. D. None of the above. 34. Exploitation and inequality are minimum under A. Socialism, B. Capitalism, C. Mixed economy, D. None of the above. 35. Administrative prices refers to A. Prices determined by forces of demand and supply, B. Prices determined by sellers in the market, C. Prices determined by an external authority, which is usually the government, D. None of the above. Answers: A. D. Second, B. Third, B. Fourth, A. Fifth, D. Sixth, A. Seventh, B. Eighth, A. Ninth, A. 10th, B. 11, D. 12, D. 13, D. 14, A. 15, D. 16, C. 17, C. 18, B. 19, D. 20, C. 21, B. 22, C. 23, D. 24, A. 25, D. 26, C. 27, D. 28, B. 29, B. 30, B. 31, B. 32, B. 33, B. 34, A. 35, C.